competing with the inauguration concerts. But
I know. That's why our goal is to do this quickly and thoroughly.
Bruce Springsteen, but he's not on yet.
I know. I have the TV on. It's muted. I can see it out of the corner of my eye. I know. It's been all things inauguration all day. It's been kind of fun to be able to be home and watch all of that. We're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to our not back to school night. We wanted to touch base with parents as we enter the second half of the school year, and we are, gosh darn, still in this predicament. So you're going to hear from the 8th grade team tonight. We're going to start with a message from Miss Goldman, because she's not here. Is she here to talk, or does she want to watch the video?
She's not here, so just the video.
Okay, so we're going to listen to Miss Goldman right now.
Hi, 8th grade parents, it's Miss Goldman here. I'm over on the other meeting with the 7th grade team right now, so I just wanted a quick hello from me. My message, as you can see on the screen, is pretty simple. Number one, we're still here for you. I know it's been not the middle school experience that any of us expected for your 8th graders, but we're still here all the way to the end to support you and to support them through all the things. On that note, high school recommendations are done. Anybody that submitted a request for a high school recommendation, we have done them all. They have all been sent on to the high schools, to Intercom, to SECA, to IB, and then if you could send us any individual ones to those schools as well. Similarly, remember, you got high school transcripts and all that information back in November. If you misplaced it, please contact the office to get those things. We've kind of got all the high school momentum and now handing it off to you to make sure that kind of the last applications are submitted and all the last little details are together. In other news, I'm sure some of you are watching the news and hearing like, well, maybe school's open at this number and the governor has this plan, and there's a lot of goings on. Dr. Wood did send out an update earlier this week. What I'm going to tell you is that if you are stressed out by trying to figure out what does that mean, when is school going to open, I'm going to give you permission not to worry about it. I promise that we will keep you informed and that we are good to go and we're ready to go as soon as we get the okay. Right now, our best guess is after spring break, but you know, things are changing all the time. We just don't know. So if the news is stressing you out, don't worry, I'll keep you posted. Last but not least, I'm sure some of you are starting to wonder about things like portfolio and promotion. I know Mrs. Sanchez is going to talk a little bit about portfolio tonight, and then we'll set up an 8th grade meeting probably in February to start talking about what we want the end of the year to look like. I don't want to move too quickly on that because we want to wait until we kind of know what we can do so we have the most options, but we will start thinking about that soon. Meanwhile, I hope you all are surviving and thriving and that your kids keep on learning. And remember, we're here for you. Talk to you soon. Bye.
So just to reiterate what Miss Goldman said, we are missing the kids. We are missing interacting with the families. We are doing our best to keep connected, to keep you informed and all of that good stuff. As she said, the news is confusing. Even we can't keep up with it. And we are just relying on our administration to give us the information because it really is confusing. All ways to stay connected, email the teachers. You can email Miss Goldman, all of that. And yes, last week we got all of the letters of recommendation done for the high school. So yay, here we go. And I'm going to pass it off to Miss Williams.
So just for your information, we have our email addresses here. You probably recognize most of them, Mr. Nigro, Ms. Novello, Mr. Shane, Ms. Sanchez, and myself. And then at the bottom, you'll see Mrs. Miller. She'll introduce herself later in this meeting. So top 3 things to keep in mind. Students will continue to work on the same curriculum, what we've been doing throughout the year. You'll see similar things coming up. All of our office hours and our classroom links can be found on their Google Calendar, the 8th grade Google Calendar. Portfolios are coming up, as Ms. Goldman and Ms. Sanchez mentioned. And then high school is right around the corner. We did finish our recommendations for Intercom and the 2 programs there. I'm noticing a few of like the private school recommendations still coming through my email. So if you still have to send those to Mr. Niagara and myself, you can do that. And then just to talk a little bit about STEM, as you guys know, we've combined our science and math classes together this year, as well as humanities. Today, or up to now, we've been focusing on the cross-cutting concepts listed there. Here's just a snapshot of a student's assignment where we simulated Newton's laws by rolling, you might have noticed your students rolling marbles down a ramp, and we're simulating forces there. Then on to math. In Math 8, we've been doing a lot of problem solving, simplifying with variables. We've been doing graphs and equations. And then in Integrated 1, we've been working with functions, linear functions, and then transformations and solving. Something this year has surprisingly brought was a good exploration of really awesome online tools. So we've been using Desmos a lot, which you can see that is an image of using Desmos to do transformation of triangles. So you might see your student graphing, filling with that tool. So that's what we've been doing. Coming up, just a quick snapshot, more of the cross-cutting concepts in science. We'll be talking a little bit about balanced and unbalanced forces, contact forces, non-contact forces, and then gravitational force. Just this is what's coming up in the next couple of weeks. For Math 8, we'll be talking about systems of equations and then transformations and similarity. And in Integrated 1, we'll be modeling 2 variable data, and we'll be talking about sequences. So if you do have questions about this, you can definitely email me, and remember, remind your student to pop into office hours if they have questions for me.
So I'm going to talk a bit about humanities, which, as we know, is our core ELA in social studies. So taking a look at what we've been doing in humanities, we're studying American history, but we're studying it thematically. So we're not going chronologically from beginning to where we are now. We're instead taking a look at some big ideas and how they've played out throughout American history. Students also did timelines from different points of view from different people in history. So we want to make sure that we're representing lots of different perspectives when we take a look at history. Students also looked at, for example, the concept of rights and social contract and principles that are in our Constitution, and how they sort of have played out throughout our history. So students made educational videos themselves of different protest movements like the 504 sit-in, or the women's suffrage movement, or different protests along those lines. We're also learning, just from a skill level, how to analyze and annotate texts, and how to read things critically, how to ask the right questions when we read things, so that we can foster some critical literacy in students. And my goal is that projects or the project that we've been doing are all about fostering their own exploration. So students kind of pick their areas of interest, and they explore it, asking certain questions, analyzing it, and again, being critical thinkers as they look at history. And so then to look at where we're going to go next, we're going to get really conceptual. It's going to get pretty in-depth and intense, but students always step up to the challenge. And I'm really excited to see what your students come up with. We're going to study next some immigration stories and starting to understand deep culture. So really hitting that cultural diversity pillar and going beyond the surface as to what are some of those deeper aspects of culture. So your students may be interviewing you or family members soon, so be prepared for that. And then on a skill level, we're gonna dive into that sort of high school level essay. So how are they going to structure claims, evidence, reasoning? How are they going to write a proper thesis? How are they going to make sure that they don't just have the content, but they have the right organization for those high school level essays? We're then going to dive into literature circles. So that's where our big novel study is going to come about. And students will have their own literature circle group that they can have those discussions in. And those conversations are going to be what I call critical and courageous. Critical because they're going to be using that critical thinking. They're going to be asking really in-depth questions, and they're really going to be open-minded as they do that. And I say courageous as well because these conversations are going to be about difficult topics that are complicated and that can bring up some controversy. And so far, anytime we've had a class discussion about any of these types of topics, your students have been so mature, so thoughtful, and they've really listened to each other. And so we're going to keep pushing that to the next level and have those conversations about things like institutional and systemic racism in the United States. And so really excited for just what your kids have already created, as well as where we're going to go next with it and how they're going to blow me away in the coming months.
Next up, I'll introduce, we have the pleasure of having another warm body, another set of eyes, another brain to help us think through things, and yet another person to help us support your students. I'd like you to meet our new distance learning facilitator for 8th grade, Mrs. Kendall Miller.
Hello, I have been with this 8th grade team since the middle of December, and as Tricia said, I'm called a distance learning facilitator, and I'm here to support the 8th grade teachers and students. So in the last couple of weeks, I've been popping into humanities and tech and STEM, and I have met many of your students, and I have helped them. You know, they got to get to know me, and I've had some great one-on-ones. I've done a lot of work with Mr. Nigro's students, and they're working on the cover letters for their portfolios. So another part that's going to actually start coming here next Monday is we're doing some breakout sessions where we're going to focus on some students that might be struggling, haven't been able to complete all their assignments, or need some extra help in some projects. So these students, I actually sent an email out today to the parents and students that will be participating next week. And we'll do that for a week and 2 days. They'll do it in one of their periods. The classwork in that class will be excused so that they can work on these projects and not worry about getting behind on another assignment. I think that's just about it. So if you have any questions for me, you can always email me or respond to the email that I sent you.
Thank you. We are really happy to have Mrs. Miller. Just already with her just floating around in our classes, it has just been so wonderful to have another person in there helping and supporting the kids. It's been really good. So I can't wait to see, you know, what our new ideas are, how they're going to work out. So we're really glad to have her. Next up is Mrs. Novello. She is currently in the 7th grade parent meeting. So I will pretend to be Miss Novello today, and she left me with some things to say. So in expressions so far this year in 8th grade, the goal has always been to develop skills and confidence in art through hands-on experiences. And the fact that we have been distance learning over half a year does not change that goal at all. The ability to dive deeper into art techniques as a result of COVID-19, I believe, has provided all students a more in-depth art experience, resulting in art skills and confidence that continues to progress each week. The learning experiences students are accomplishing test their ability to make independent creative decisions and stretch their critical and creative skills. I can't believe what the kids are producing. I almost think that this year they're producing stuff off the charts. And so it's so cool to see this happening. She says, looking ahead, we are continuing to dive deep into art techniques that will continue to challenge and engage my students. The routines we have established this year will serve the students well with providing them with structure and expectations. Reverse drawing and tonal drawing, which is drawing in the reverse by applying highlights on black toned paper, are new techniques that will delight the students with their results. Always wanting to focus on process, students will slowly acquire the skills and confidence towards reverse and tonal drawing techniques while documenting their growth and celebrations to their digital portfolio. I am so excited for the weeks ahead. And the digital portfolios they're doing, I can't wait for them to put them in their portfolios. Like, I'm so excited about that piece. So your students are really doing some amazing work in expressions this year. And that was Miss Novello. Now we'll move on to Mr. Shane, who's here with us, and he'll talk about PE.
All right. So I hope you guys are all enjoying the beautiful weather we're having and able to get outside and kind of work on not only mental health, but some physical health as well. And so just to give you a little update of what we've been doing in PE class is we have been working on a 2-week personalized exercise program that's kind of tailored to your students' kind of likes and what type of workouts they like to do. So we've been working on 10 different styles of workouts that they can do. Obviously, no equipment, limited space. And so all of these are definitely something that they can continue to do. This project is geared towards when we go back to hybrid, when that happens, that they'll have some meaningful workouts when they're not at school with a hybrid schedule. So take a look at those. We have a due date coming up on that in the next week. And so if you were asking to see some work for PE, if you haven't heard them jumping around, or I always think of that Geico commercial when they say they have a clogging problem and they're stomping on the floor, right? So I always think of my class as having that type of problem. So anyway, we will continue to have class workouts and group workouts. We've been doing some breakout rooms and some kind of like choice workouts. And those workouts will continue to be with cameras on and kind of get that interaction going with a workout. So they've done really good with that. Our upcoming class focus will be some movement patterns and movement standards. So prepare to either break a window or a lamp or have them jump over the couch, something like that. So we're going to get pretty wild with that. So it's basically geared towards when we get back in person, we'll have some of these teaching cues and movement skills down to where they can just they can really take advantage of their time at school to practice and participate instead of kind of going through all the techniques and stuff. This January, we've had a NCS Health and Wellness Challenge. So hopefully they've shared some of their experiences with you. We're halfway through the month, if not towards the last third of the month already. So I like these wellness calendars because it makes the time go by really quick, right? Because you're counting these days, you're doing these challenges. And so I think we have one more week after this week of our wellness challenge. So keep up the hard work.
Right on. And last but not least, I will wrap up with technology. And I'm just been so happy with how well the kids have been problem solving. We've done a couple new tech things and they're just right in there. The 8th graders, they're just like, whatever, I've got it, Mrs. Sanchez. So far this year, we've been up to we revisit some things at the very beginning of the year, like I have to revisit organization because as we know, adolescents typically aren't the most organized kids. And so we did some of that. We talked about copyright again. I really want to instill the concept of copyright and not stealing somebody else's intellectual property. We've been continuing our blogs and to see the 8th grades get better with their blogging, and we're gonna start releasing some of them out in the wild soon. So we're really excited. I would say about November-ish, we started our media literacy unit, and this is a big chunk of this year with 8th grade because I couldn't do it with them last year. And so we started off, we learned about the First Amendment and focused on the idea of freedom of speech and talking about how that role plays out in technology and social media. And we've been learning some info zones and understanding where information comes from as we build our abilities to consume media well. And then to be responsible and respectful creators. For instance, last week we were talking about confirmation bias and how we need to do some fact checking really quick and have what the News Lit project I use a lot, and they have a little thing that's about having information hygiene. So we talked about using information hygiene last week, and we're going to continue that into January and February, and a project is coming, and it's all about learning how not to let any media get the better of you, basically, right? Be a responsible consumer, be a respectful creator, and all of that good stuff. And the conversations that I have been having with your children have been really awesome. And I'm just really impressed with the level of their, the depth that they're kind of getting into this unit, which is really nice. Now, towards the end of February and through April, it will be portfolio time. And as I gather all those resources together and put all the dates on the calendar, I will be emailing parents and students. And then from February to the end of April, in tech is all about preparing for that portfolio. Not only will we finalize our portfolios and I'll do a quick thorough check and give feedback, but we also work on presenting. And right now we're tentatively scheduling portfolios to take place the last 3 weeks of April after spring break. Cross our fingers. And we're probably thinking they're going to be digital again. And we did that last year and it actually worked really great. So as we flesh this out a little bit more, you'll get some more information, but that is the bulk of the third trimester for 8th graders is that portfolio. So with that, we are actually done. And if you have general questions for us now, we can answer that. If you have questions specific to your child or your student, absolutely you can email us and ask that question. So we'll open it up really quick and see if anybody has any questions on what we've presented tonight.
At the beginning, there was mentioning that recommendations were done. There's in the Natoma School District, the deadlines haven't come through for like Intercom or PFAA, or those are at the end of the month, right? Or am I wrong?
Yes, you're right. We've done SICA and IB at Intercom, and so PFAA will be a little bit different because those are auditions, and usually Mrs. Novello heads up helping the kids with those.
And we've gotten really good response on from teachers on letters for some private schools, but we haven't submitted to all the Natomas district stuff. So
yeah, so we filled in the bulk of the regular ones that we always do. But yeah, for private schools or anything else outside of that spectrum of Intercom, you can email and we'll take care of those.
Thank you so much for all of you doing all that work at this crazy time of the year.
Thank you. Any other questions? I don't know about you, but there's some of us that really want to watch the Parade of the States since everything's virtual this time. So if there's no other questions, we'll go ahead and end this. And please don't hesitate to contact us. We are just an email away, and your students are doing great. We are so proud of them, and we look forward to see what they create the rest of the school year. Thank you.
Get out of here.